Okay, so now we're going to finalize the presentation and functionality of this patch. What I realized working from our example is that this matrix, or this routing matrix, which essentially takes an input source and routes it to a different output source, is replaced by what we're doing here with our ambi panning, which is taking a source and then panning it to different outputs. So we can, in our UI, let's replace this routing matrix with this section here. And then we're going to add the manual controls for our other two input sources. Now, no doubt you have much more complex and interesting ways to pan your audio using either algorithmic processors or MIDI controls, input, stuff like that. And we can definitely incorporate that too. In fact, that'll be the difference between my example here and each of your different designs. It's how this panning happens, really. But I'd like to address that on an individual basis and see how you guys are implementing that there. But so for now, we'll finish off the design of this example as if you were going to start from scratch. This is how you might start. So we're in editing mode. And again, I want to replace this literally with that stuff and put it in the middle. And also maybe remove its functionality from our patch so it doesn't interfere in any way. So we're going to edit, going out of presentation mode. And we see here the way the audio gets passed through to that matrix is via these gain sliders. And I've just noticed we've bypassed the gain sliders effectively, and we haven't connected our other two. So let's look at that now. Now, do we need these gain sliders in our layout? Maybe not. Currently, the input gain is, if you select post mixer, is affected by the level of your track here. So maybe we don't need these, but as gain stages, they are useful as meters just to see what's happening. So maybe we could just leave them there. Same with the outputs, just to see that it's metering in the plugin. Not necessarily because we're going to change the level, using them to change the level. But so with that in mind, then what we need to do is just reroute these cables so that are going into our ambient code. We're going to take them from the output of these faders, and we are potentially going to disconnect this matrix. I think that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then we're going to probably replace this with these faders here, just so we can meter them. We've got metering faders here, but we're not using them, and they're not in the same design style. So, okay, here we go. Simplification time. Start by disconnecting this matrix. There might be a faster way to do it other than just clicking on each cable, but I don't know what that is. If you can, someone out there can tell me, that'd be awesome. So now this matrix is not going to interfere with our routing in any way because it's completely disconnected. I'd like to leave it there just for now because it is interesting. And now we need this is our plugin input and our gain sliders here. So they need to get plugged into here. So we could rearrange this. Again, live patcher layout is definitely not my strong suit and something I'm continuing to hopefully improve on. But right now we're going to do the best. And also keeping them, it is good to sub patch this stuff and use encapsulate this, but just for visibility, I like having it here as a teaching tool. So now I've made some space. These are going to go into my ambient code. So I'm going to copy, or not copy, I'm just going to move those over here so that I can easily see this when I am inspecting this layout later. And we have two outputs. Again, yes, we are effectively summing each of these stereo channels to mono. Not ideal, but something we could address much later on if we feel, once we get to that stage. So taking the two leftmost outputs of each of these gain sliders and going into the input on the ambient code. So now those gain sliders will actually play a part, influence the level of if we wanted an extra gain stage. Why not? Well, why not? Because it makes things more complicated, but it might make it more easy too. Now we've got two plug out objects here. I was interested to see whether you could do that. We can, but we only need the one. So we just need one with the 10 outputs. And seeing this is already nicely connected to these sliders here, I'm going to use that one. I'm going to disconnect this old one here. Oops, don't need new object. Again, this has 10 outputs, which we will replicate. Just so that later on, if we want to come back to this and analyze it some more, I'm just going to put that back where that was. And now we're going to take these faders, these comments, and the plug out tilde, and we're going to put it here. We do need to add another 2 outputs here, so 9 and 10. And rather than have these plugged into, just to mirror what we had before, rather than have these plugged into the first 8, we want to have them plugged into the last 8. So I'm going to move that over here. And we're going to use the first 2 for our waves output, waves plugin output. So I'm just moving these over by 2, just to mirror the setup we had before. I can extend this plugin out. There we go. Take the waves left and right from the waves plugin to go there. And now we can delete these meters because we have these gain sliders, which are effectively going to function as our meters, and take these into the left and right input of each of these faders. So ambient code 1 goes to left and right, left and right, left and right, and left and right. Cool. So now those gain sliders are functional, and we've repurposed them from over here. I think that's just about it. Oh no, we need some more. Let's create some more controllers here for our very basic ambisonic panner. And again, yours will be much more interesting and complex than this, but I'll show you how to do. That's our comment from the open. So I should move that down there with that. Yes, because that comment goes with that open. So that when we look at it here, it is clear. So we need 2 more sets of azimuth, elevation, and distance, and you have all done this before. I'm going to move that up, move that over there. So basically, first we need to go into this patch, command and then double click, and create 2 more sets of inputs. And again, I believe you've all done this multiple times, so this probably already exists in your patch. Connect those to the main outlet and change the arguments here to reflect the numbered input that this is going to be into our panner. So this is input number 3, and this is going to be input number 4. It's going to control those, so we can save and close that. Oop, I didn't mean to go all the way, so we will open the edit again. And now we merely need to duplicate these number boxes. Now we could replace these with live number boxes, because that would save any changes we make. That could be good. Let's just do that as an example and see what the look is like. So new live.numbox. Cool. And we'll need 3. I'm liking this little comment, so we're going to duplicate that. Oops, grab the comment. Again, we'll probably have to arrange this better when we go into the presentation view, and this is going to be our 4th one. And what are the ranges we want here? This range goes to, the azimuth goes to, well, you can type in anything, but it'd be nice if it went to, well, let's just do that for now. Let's not get too complicated. This one, does that loop around? No, that's continuous forever. And this one goes on forever too. So just to make them the same, just for now, we'll just make sure they are all floats. So I've selected them all, open the inspector, float, and the range is, I don't know, like heaps, like 10,000 or something. Just so it kind of mirrors the functionality of those. And duplicate, hold down command, and then in this patcher, we're going to connect the first azimuth to here, sorry, the third azimuth, the third elevation, the third distance, the fourth azimuth, fourth elevation, fourth distance. We are going to tidy these patch cables. Great, and then add these to the presentation as well. Let's see what that looks like when I go into presentation mode. Where do they pop up? Here they are. Just move them down here. We also have our number comments here. Again, we might want to turn these all into num boxes or live.num boxes in a bit, but yeah. You can use shift to make some fine adjustments and the arrows to line them up exactly. Great. The other thing I said I wanted to do is replace, move it around so that this now is sitting here in that route matrix section, because we're not using that at the moment. So I'm in presentation mode. I don't want to delete anything necessarily because we might come back and change our design later, but I'm just going to move it down there, and then I'm going to take these and just move them down using the arrows on my keyboard. Then I'm going to take this and move it to the left, because remember, this is essentially our routing matrix in a way, or in essence, and then take this and pop it back over here. It also means that we have the potential to make our object or our device a little bit smaller. Let's play with that. Remember, we've got set width here. I'm just going to see what 1100 ends up looking like. So save and close. Does that happen to fit everything in? Hey, it kind of does. Perfect. Huh, just a little bit of gap. Fantastic. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to close it, reinstantiate it on my router track. There's my head tracker launching as I would expect. I can open the plugin UI and change anything I might want to change. I can select my, well, let's get 4 input sources now. So duplicate. So source 1, source 2. Again, this is what your live set might look like if you are using this process. And just put different sounds on here so that they are identifiable. And sound 4, let's do this. Cool. And then doesn't help that they're all the same chord. I just want to be able to hear different things. So now when I play all of these, sends only, of course, activate all the tracks. Let's check the distance works on all these. So distance of 1, yes. Distance of 1, yes. Distance of 1, yes. Oh, did that work? Distance of 1. Now I can't remember, this value here for the distance is a floating point between 1, 0 and 1. So we need to change this number box actually so that functions better. Whereas this one, well, the steps are massive here. So it's kind of stepped. I might want to change that too. This has just got to do with number box functionality. Just seems very stepped. We'll suss that out. Maybe for maybe for ease of use, I might just return it to those number boxes for now. Actually, let's just do that so that's sorted. So my apologies. The number box thing, live.numberbox, we can look into later. So simply replace these with a copy of these and route them the same way. We're probably going to have to rearrange them in presentation mode, which is fine. Just because I don't want to have to think about that too much. Presentation mode, here we go. Grab those. Get them to line up nicely there. Hold down Shift if you need to. That looks pretty good. Great. This one, holding Shift and then arrows. Awesome. Save, close. Reload said patch or device. There we go. Here it is. All of these are set to sends only. I'm going to select source 1 here, source 2 here, source 3 here, source 4 here. This is great. Distance for all of these we will set to 1. And then we can start to play with the pan and the elevation if you like. Fantastic. And then once you have your 8 speakers plugged in, we'll route these to these sends, or these return tracks that we're using in live. So it'd look like this. And there you have it. This is your Ambisonics, design and patch translated into Max for Live device using, very importantly, I want to reiterate one more time, using source, like the audio is clips and live audio and everything from your Ableton Live tracks. No longer do we have to use the SF Play as our only source of sound. We can integrate it fully into our live workflow, which we are really good at. And now we could have different, again, a lot of you are controlling the azimuth and distance and elevation via MIDI. We can send those MIDIs from tracks in here. We can sequence it all in time. Again, sample management, playback, and sequencing. MIDI sequencing here is huge. So I can't wait to see how we apply this to your projects. But that's it. And that's all thanks to the new audio routing devices and the new Live API that's available in Live 10. So I'm glad we got there. See you in class.